Hello everyone, and welcome back to another rapid fire review. So I do these when I fall a little bit behind in terms of my movie reviewing for the year, and I mostly do this just for smaller releases that come out, whether it be on streaming platforms or just kind of straight DVD releases, just smaller movies that don't really get the theater run. So today I have another four that I'm going to be doing. I usually like to do four for these, but these are just kind of my initial thoughts of the movie, very quick overview if I liked it or not, the things that's just very quick overview of what I thought about these movies and why I thought it was good, bad, and just a basis for the reason I'm giving it the score I am. So today we got four movies. We have The Long Nights, we have Studio 666, we have The Bombardment, and we also have Cheaper by the Dozen. So without further ado, gonna get into my reviews for all four of these movies. So let's get into it. I'm gonna start this one off with The Long Nights. This is a horror movie which comes in at about 90 minutes long. It is about a boyfriend and girlfriend who decide that they are going to take a trip together very spontaneously. The boyfriend wants to take his girlfriend to meet her parents, and it's a long road trip, basically cross country, that they have to go to, and they're going deep south. So they stay a night in a home from the girlfriend's relative, who basically offers up the nights kind of mysteriously to them. They go to the house, and immediately when they get there, they realize that something is very, very wrong, and they're being watched by a very animal-like cult who can't seem to enter the house right away. They're trying to start some sort of ritual to get them to lure out of the house and sacrifice them. And yeah, it turns into a very supernatural movie from there. And I want to say this movie felt very flat to me. They split this movie up into what I believe was like 8 segments, each about 10 to 15 minutes long. And I just found that it was kind of weird pacing, and it does a lot of those shots where it's just basically like the character or a character walking, or like a long pan shots for minutes long sometimes with just no dialogue and not really seeming like there's a meaning behind all of it. It just felt like wasted time, these shots, as opposed to compelling storytelling, in the sense that it just didn't really feel necessary to telling the story or conveying the character's emotions in this. I found this was very bad pacing. It was kind of a jumbled mess near the end too, when it's revealed the secrets behind what this house is, what this cult is, all those things. And I just didn't find it really all that scary. They kind of go for a gore shock value most of the time, and I just didn't find it too compelling. So with all this taken together, I'm gonna have to give A Long Night a 4 out of 10. Yeah, I just wasn't able to get into this one. Next we have is Studio 666. This is actually a movie made by the Foo Fighters, and it is starring the Foo Fighters, where basically they're making their new album, and to do this, they kind of isolate themselves. They buy a house that they're going to isolate themselves for 2 weeks is the plan, and it ends up being a longer stay because we get to learn that this house basically is evil, and it possesses whoever stays in the house, and ends up getting a lot of people killed. There's a big history within this house. We start to see one of the band members of the Foo Fighters start to go a little bit crazy, and this is one of the goriest movies that I have watched in a long, long time. It is a very, very campy and kind of like B horror movie. So it is, of course, it's the Foo Fighters acting. It's kind of the bad but funny acting, and yeah, the story in this is kind of nuts. And again, yeah, one of the most gory films that I have watched in a long, long time. It is absolutely bonkers, and again, in kind of the fun B-rated horror movie way, where yeah, it's just absolutely nuts. I can't say that, like, if you go into this movie watching it as just a fun little B horror movie, you're not expecting great performances, things like that. It is a lot of fun, and I can see this definitely being higher than the score I'm going to give it, but just taking it kind of as a movie, judging it maybe a little too seriously, I'm gonna give Studio 666 a 4 out of 10. Again, like there's moments where I was really enjoying this film. There's some fun little cameos that they have in it, but yeah, it's just absolutely super dumb, really grotesque, and yeah, bad, but kind of the good bad kind of horror movie. So I do recommend it if you're a fan of the Foo Fighters, or you're a fan of really campy horror movies. This is definitely right up the alley. Definitely a better one than The Long Night in terms of just the fun that you can have with it. So if you're gonna watch one of those two horror movies, make it Studio 666. Next one we have is a Netflix movie called The Bombardments. This film was just a little under 2 hours long, and yeah, it is definitely it's a World War II movie, and it is a bit of a rough one. You get to see, well, a lot of heroism in this one and really, really great performances all around. It doesn't matter the age of the school children, the parents, some of the soldiers in this movie. There are fantastic performances in this and very good commentary about, well, one, parenting, two, war, three, being faithful or like being Catholic during a time like this, and the way that just anyone can um what's the terms I'm looking for here is use their power to their advantages, either in very awful or very good ways, and really testing your faith and yourself during war times. And I want to say, I just reviewed two horror movies here, and I found that this was easily the scariest one. It really goes through how terrifying the bombings would be, and especially too just how terrifying it is to have heroism. I thought they really nailed that in this movie, and it was extremely compelling, and I was glued to my screen watching it the entire time. And yeah, it's just a very, very well made World War II film that isn't told from the perspective of soldiers. It's told from the perspective of spies, people giving information that threatens their own nation for their own survival, things like that. There's just the civilians in war times, and it does that very, very well. It just shows the heroism that can be brought out of anyone, and how sometimes too it can stay stuck in anyone. And they do a very good job kind of justifying the actions of all the characters and having them learn from these experiences, their choices, and, well, just all of those things. It was a very fantastically made movie, and that's why I'm gonna have to give The Bombardment an 8 out of 10. And yeah, if you're gonna watch a movie on Netflix based off of history and you want something compelling, this is the movie to do it to. And lastly, we have Cheaper by the Dozen. This film actually just came out today on Disney Plus, and it is about an hour and 50 minutes long, just a little less than that. Hour 45, hour 50 minutes long. And yeah, so it is about the bakers. Of course, it's not the same bakers that we know from the Steve Martin Cheaper by the Dozen movies, but it's the bakers again, family of 12. And this is definitely a lot more grounded storytelling than it was in the original ones. You do really get to learn a lot about the families, and they tackle a lot of societal issues just in terms of, well, one being single, sometimes being a single mother because someone, your other spouse, is out working so much during the day and they're barely home and managing the kids. They deal with racism, sexism, a whole lot of things in this movie. And I thought they actually did a very good job having it be commentary that kids can learn from and also adults can learn from. I never found it to be too kiddie when it does get into those conversations, and does have decent commentary on it for a kids film. And kind of with all that said, this definitely isn't the fun, goofy, Cheaper by the Dozen movies that I had growing up or that you're going to remember. It's a lot more grounded, and I want to say for the first half of the movie, I was wondering really how this was all going to tie in together and work. I wasn't really, I don't want to say I wasn't having fun, but I wasn't really compelled until the last 45 minutes of this movie, where I found it really found its ground and told a story, and it had basically the family come together in a way that just felt so real and grounded. And it's definitely a lot more relatable family and a lot more relatable characters than I think the original ones had. And I did really like the story. Of course, just don't go into this one thinking it's going to be a fun, goofy family kids movie. It's still definitely geared towards kids, but again, there's a lot of commentary in this that I found was just very, very well done. And it really, really found its voice in the last 45 minutes, and I quite I did quite enjoy it. I do want to say I would much rather watch the originals than I would this one, but I did have a lot of fun with it. And in all honesty, Cheaper by the Dozen, I was thinking about giving it a 7, but I can't quite that's kind of like my minimum go out of your way to watch it kind of thing. But yeah, if you're looking for the fun Cheaper by the Dozen movie, this unfortunately isn't quite it, but it's very good, and that's why I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. But with all this taken together, please let me know what you thought about all 4 of these movies in the comments down below. If you've seen any of them, if you like these rapid fire reviews, definitely give them a thumbs up. You can check out everything I do on this channel through the playlist down below. And for convenience sake, I'll link some up top here. Subscribe and turn the little ringer on if you want to know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out everything I do live stream and Twitch wise, There's a link to that in the description of this video, and of course my channel bio. And at both of those places, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, music, sports, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community. I'll make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.